Okay.
Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. I will excuse myself for a moment. I forgot my glass of water over there. I prepared it, but I did not bring it. Okay, so Drsya Viveka, welcome, my dear friends. We stopped last week on the verse 23rd. We all remember we are looking into meditation, yeah, into Nididhyasana, and the distinction between Vedantic Nididhyasana, Vedantic meditation, Vedantic Samadhi, and the yogic Samadhi. So they are different. And in this text, the author presents a few different sadhanas of meditation to us, and he basically classified them as nirvikalpa and savikalpa. And the savikalpa, he subdivides again in two, holding on to the words of the Upanishads, and the other is, and it's just relating to the objects as they appear, the physical and the subtle world of objects. So those are the basic distinctions, okay? And then he talks about nirvikalpa samadhi, that which to me is still, let's see if they are going, I don't remember if they are going to elaborate, because nirvikalpa samadhi is of no use for the purpose as far as self-inquiry and self-knowledge, yeah? Because if the inquirer or the meditator or the contemplator is not there, there is no possibility. But it can somehow bring about the collapse of savikalpa, of duality, by understanding the nature of consciousness, which is the purpose of every one of those meditations, of these meditations, which is to remove the namarupas and to hold on to consciousness, to let go of the objects and to hold to the light revealing the objects. And in the end, to let go of the Vedantic words, to hold on to consciousness, okay? So when we even let go of the Vedantic words, and then we are this Sakshi Chaitanyam, this conscious existence, and then we could say that that is the state of nirvikalpa, maybe, but in the presence of the Jiva Atma that has then identified itself as consciousness. So this duality can be destroyed in our understanding, and that's maybe what he means by these nirvikalpa meditations, which is the culmination, I would say, of the savikalpa, in both cases, holding on to the words or holding or entertaining the words, engaging the words of the Upanishad, or just observing the physical material objects and the subtle objects as well, such as thoughts. Thoughts are objects, as we know. Okay, on the verse 23rd, the author says the samadhi is divided in savikalpa and nirvikalpa. Savikalpa then is divided into associate with objects and associate with the words. The words means the Vedantic words. Yeah? So when the light, so in Savikalpa, some support is used as an aid, for example, using hand for meditation. This is another example. So in Savikalpa, so we are going to use the Savikalpa in relation to the words of Vedanta, and then to the objects that appear, and we could use some support, some help, okay? So we are watching and observing, and in this case, we are relating to the words of the scriptures, and the scriptures say that consciousness, your true nature, is more or less like the light that reveals the head. So if you want to see now what you are, remove the hand. So meaning to say, so remove the world in your understanding, then you're going to be left only with consciousness, the illuminator, revealing the world. So in that sense, we can use some support, some help, such as the construct of a hand to illustrate the fact that the world is there, but it's there only because the knower of the world is illuminating and revealing it, okay? So it's easier for us to practice with remove the word, the hand, then remove the world altogether, right? So we can use this support, like such as the hand, okay? But we're gonna see more of this example. When the light is focused without the support of the hand, in this case, in this example, it's called nirvikalpa, okay? So now we have collapsed duality, not experientially, otherwise we would go to the yogic nirvikalpa samadhi. We have collapsed by understanding that the light, the hand is incidental, but the light is the permanent, all present, never change, never being effect, and so on, free of attributes and so on. And it's always presence, the light of consciousness. So we can go to the essential nature of this relationship, quote unquote, between consciousness and the hand, light of consciousness that illuminating the hand. So we can play with it until we understand the essential nature, and then in some sort of way we are in a nirvikalpa, although we did not destroy the hand, we did not destroy Jagata, okay? Jagata is still there, but we look through Jagata and we see this substantial true nature of Jagat as Satchitananda. So similarly, the support in the form of a thought of the world, it is used then to focus, is turned towards the Satchitananda. Similarly, the support in the form of the thought or the word. So we have a thought, or we have words, also however we want to look at it. So a thought, so we are the objects of the subtle object of thoughts, they can be pure Vedantic thoughts or can be other thoughts. So the thoughts, whatsoever nature, so the Aham Brahmasmi thought is the most powerful, but any thought, even if it is a stupid thought, can be an indicator of the light of consciousness revealing our stupidity, because jivas, they fall for stupidities, right? But then there is always a pointer to consciousness. So we turn toward the light, we turn towards Brahman. The verse 24, he further elaborates. He says, like thoughts arise in the mind, like desires, the thing, one should meditate on consciousness as the witness. This is the meditation with duality associated with the thing. So we are there, we are in Savikalpa, we are meditating on some phenomenal object, and the witness with Drik is observing Drsya. So it's a dualistic Savikalpa sort of meditation associated with words or dense objects or subtle objects. So let me see here. From this verse onward, the author is going to explain that those 6 meditations to be practiced by Vedantins. Verse 24, 25, and 6 deals with the first 3 samadhis. And verse 27, 28, 29 deals with the second set of 3 samadhis. This verse describes the internal thought associated Savikalpa samadhi. So in this verse, of course, is a Savikalpa. You are dealing with something that you see, which is a word, or as it says here, or a thought, a thought in regards to something of the world. One should take thoughts arise, thought. So we are dealing with this subtle object called thoughts. So we are in Savikalpa samadhi. This is thought meditation. there is no need to remove thoughts. Now, many people recommend removal of thoughts for meditation. And then Swamiji says, this is very difficult to do. I find it very nice, because we come into the spirituality through that door, that concept that you need to finish with the mind. You need to create the no mind. You have to have a mind that does not think. But the problem, the mind was designed to think. And even if you manage to suppress thoughts for a certain period of time, when you suspend your effort, the thoughts come back. Unless you become an expert and you start falling into Nirvikalpa Samadhi for long periods of time. But still, you fall out of that as well. So Swami says this way of yogic meditation, of removal, the complete removal of thoughts process, is not recommended in Vedanta. It's very difficult to do. The author prescribes a meditation here in which thoughts can be entertained, okay, and even can be invited, Vedantic thoughts. Consider the following exercise as an example for this meditation. So we visualize a room. Imagine that there is a powerful central light in the room. The light pervades the entire room. Imagine that people are coming in the room and going out of the room. Every one of these people is known because of what? The light principle, which is there in the central part of the room. So everyone is being revealed and known by the power of this principle, light. This light is usually ignored, it says, so nobody's paying attention that the light is the revealing power here. First, the attention is focused on the people, and then later on the light. So we focus the attention in the world, and then the world is there, the objects are there, the thoughts are there, the emotion there. We focus, we don't let it keep jumping. And then gradually, you have developed a certain one-pointedness. And then what do? You start shifting from whatsoever you're witnessing to the light of consciousness, revealing that object of perception, the object of knowledge. So you just ignore the people in the room, and you start observing the light that is there, revealing everyone. So this is an analogy, So the attention, first the attention is focused on the people, and then in the light. Then the features of the light and the feature of the people are to be compared. That's when this meditation becomes very nice. So what is the difference between the people in the room and the light? So we know all the features of consciousness are going to be compared with the features of the world. And then we will see that the only safe place to be in terms of identity is the light, because the light is not subject to time, coming, going, changing, modifying, being polluted, affect, and all of these things that happens in the room, because everybody there is subject to time, to coming and going, to fluctuations and variations, and so on. And the consciousness is there unaffected by any of these features of mithya, that things are coming and going, appearing, disappearing, a flux of changing from moment to moment, And then we're going to see that the people, they are defined by the nama-rupas, and the light is invisible, formless, and free, just like space. It's never really touched by anything. It accommodates. Light is never really touched or affected by anything. It shines, it sheds its light, it illuminates. So we're going to be comparing these people and objects are many, and light is one. How about that? Beautiful, huh? So the configurations of the world are many, but the consciousness illuminating the world is one, is non-dual. So if I have to identify, so I better identify with that, which is one without a second, which is, therefore is not affected by anything else, because in Nietzsche, everything is affected by anything else. Okay, so there is a war there in the Middle East or even the Far East, and then the United States is affected. The entire world is affected. Okay, so but because this is Nietzsche, in Nietzsche, everything impacts everything else. But those are two different orders of reality, and the only solution is to understand and identify with the satya, which is the substrate of everything that we see in Nietzsche. And Nietzsche is not really real, as we know, it is a superimposition. So it's one without a second. Therefore, I have no limits, I have no borders. So everything else is limited by its very configurations, and for where it ends to give a room to something else, so to speak. People are many, and consciousness of the light is one. People and objects come and go, means to say, they are not really all the time there for us. Objects go as well. Goes as well for our body, our physical body. Our physical body has an arrival date, and soon somebody's going to say the departure date of this or that body was so and so. So light does not arrive and not depart. Okay, consciousness, light is always there. In the analogy of the room, is always there. As long as the switch is on, it's always there. And then people come and go, and all things are going on there. Many people, with different attributes and so on, and the light is there without any attribute. In that case, its nature or attribute is illumination, so we could say. People and objects come and go. Light does not arrive and depart. People are divisible from one another. So where I end, Mark begins. When Mark ends, Lynn begins. So, but light, consciousness, is not divisible. Light is indivisible. People have forms. Light does not have form. People have namarupas. They are namarupas. And light does not have any form. People can be affected, contaminated by the dirt in the room. So if you go in a room, there are a lot of germs and bacteria and virus, you may be affected by the room. And how about consciousness? No, it's not a fact, right? Because it belongs to a different order of reality. Okay, so consciousness, I'm not going to be affected by whatsoever contamination or toxicity is in the room, in the dirty room. Light cannot be contaminated by any of that. Then the focus should be on the light and the light alone, with its characteristics. So what are the characteristics of the light? We have just seen. Is one without a second, is indivisible, and it does not change. It's not bound by time. And all those features that belong to consciousness, we have to help. You see, this is another metaphor used as a support to meditate on Chaitanya, Sakshi Chaitanya. So we are using this support. And now we are thinking in terms of not even the hand and the light. We are looking into the light in a room and all the activities and people. So those are all constructs to help us. So we can think of those things as well as Savikalpa Samadhi, by bringing in the teachings of Vedanta with the help of some construct. Using this example, one can then do the first meditation, the internal meditation as described by the author. So the following verse, the verse 24. Thoughts arise in the mind like desires. They are seen. One should meditate on consciousness as the witness. This is the meditation between the seer and the seen, of consciousness associate with what is seen. So, okay, it seems he did a little recap. Let me just go quickly through this. Talk about the 6 types of samadhi and so on. An example of the practice of meditation was given, as we just saw. Imagine a room with people. So all these are illuminated by the light principle in the room. That light principle is all pervaded and so on. Okay, the same practice is meant to be applied internally. So in the place of the room, we have the mind. So and then the room is the mind, and the people in the room are the thoughts appearing in the mind. Okay, so you shift. Now before you have this construct, and now you're gonna bring this construct even closer to more intimately relate. So the room is the mind, and the people are the thoughts appearing in the mind. Okay. So the thoughts are insentient by themselves. The people are insentient as well. We haven't seen these features when we were talking about the room. Yeah? So another feature is that the room is a sentient phenomenal object. Yeah? And the people in the room are insentient. That much we cannot say. That's why Swamiji did not use that. But here it's only you with the people in your mind, which are thoughts, and then he can say the thoughts are insentient. Yeah, there's no mistake. It's very hard to find a flaw, a mistake here and there. I haven't found it so far. So the thoughts are insentient. They are objects, subtle objects by themselves. And they are known because of something other than thoughts, which is the consciousness principle reflecting the mind, the intellect of the Jivatma. The first stage is in this samadhi, is paying attention to that consciousness principle. Then the thoughts and consciousness should be differentiated. So now we are dealing with thought. A lot of people believe that thoughts are consciousness, are human consciousness. Now, human consciousness, as I often put, is better represent as the sattvic intellect, the seer, but fundamentally it is the absolute seer, meaning to say consciousness. We are here doing this so that we can discriminate pure, limitless consciousness, which is something beyond the intellect and beyond the thoughts appearing in the mind. So these thoughts are insentient. They are known by this principle called Shakti Tattvam. The first stage in this samadhi is paying attention to that consciousness principle. Then the thoughts and consciousness should be differentiated. So this reminds me of the meditations proposed, suggested by Ramana Maharaj and Nisargadatta Maharaj, because I was pretty much involved with all of that. Yeah? So it's paying attention to the consciousness principle, and the thoughts and consciousness should be differentiated. So we have this consciousness principle, and we have the object, the subtle world, the thoughts appearing. And then what is the instruction? The instruction is pay attention to the consciousness principle, okay? So how is the intellect, the subtle intellect of the meditator pay attention to the consciousness principle? So it can be done in a dry manner, such as by the means of knowledge. I just hold my understanding in that. So I see what I see because of light of consciousness. I see what I see because of light of consciousness. I am this light of consciousness, and I am illuminating, revealing my thoughts, my inner world of thoughts, feelings, emotions. So I am this consciousness. So this is a way to pay attention and how you say, and claim and differentiate consciousness from what is being revealed by this consciousness. Okay, The thoughts and consciousness should be differentiated. Samadhi is paying attention to that consciousness principle. But if you want to give some juice to that meditation, you can. You just have to understand that I'm paying attention to consciousness, but I want some juice out of this meditation. You understand? So I know that consciousness is free of attributes, but I know that once it reflects on my sattvic intellect, it produces a nice juice, ananda, okay, which is the reflect consciousness, which is fragrance, which are inherent to my true nature. And then what we do when we meditate on consciousness, to the to the expense of the thoughts, we start enjoying the famous bliss, experiential ananda, this peace, satisfaction, and so this is something I want to add in here. So we differentiate, we pay attention to consciousness, and we can even enjoy the consciousness as it reflects once we have somehow lost our interest in the thoughts, because in the beginning we want to suppress thoughts. In a later stage, we want to select our thoughts and hold on to certain thoughts, which are important. And then the final destination is to hold on to consciousness, which can be defined as one single sentence, which is Aham Brahmasmi. I am that limitless free consciousness. So I can do that, but almost always, once I'm holding to that thought, I'm already experiencing the bliss, the satisfaction, which is the experiential aspect of this knowledge. The experiential aspect of the knowledge, it should produce, it must produce a sense of peace and satisfaction, okay? Because you would think of yourself as limitless consciousness, and that unavoidably, invariably, gives us a sense of peace, confidence, satisfaction. Raji likes to put confidence that I'm not of this world. Nothing in this world can really affect me. Where am I? Oh. Where am I?
Thoughts come and go, consciousness does not come and go.
Can you tell me the page, please? Give me my...
Yes. Where is the page number? It is page 50. It's the second paragraph.
Okay, thanks.
And we're in about the middle of it.
Okay. Yeah. Thoughts come and go. Consciousness does not come and go. Thoughts do not pervade the whole mind. So the thought is not all pervasive. Consciousness is all pervasive. They are only waves in the mind. So can the wave pervade the ocean? No, the ocean pervades all the waves, but not the other way around. But consciousness pervades everything. The ocean pervades all thoughts, all waves. Thoughts have forms such as pot thought. That's nice. Every thought is associated to a rupa, okay? A form, an object. Sometimes it's a formless object. They say like, okay, every thought is associated to a form. Oh no, I'm thinking about love, and love is formless. Okay, yes, there are some thoughts that are not really associated to a form, but it will be associated to a sensation, a feeling. Okay, whereas consciousness is formless, thoughts are divided, and consciousness is undivisible. Finally, and most important, the nature of the thought, the impurities of the thought do not affect consciousness. They are never transferred to consciousness. The same way whatsoever happens in this space never gets transferred to space. Whatsoever happens, in the scope of the light never gets transferred to the light. Why? Consciousness is without attributes. No attributes from Mithya can transfer for Satya. Yeah? As Ramji says sometimes, the customs there are very tight. They don't let any entry. Nothing from Mithya can enter in Satya. But in Satya, we know everything moves and enters from one to another. One people are just transferring one's vibes, one's thoughts, one's moods, one's attitudes to one another. And every one of us is a little bit like, So, but no, consciousness is just pervading everything, but nothing of Mithya impacts consciousness. While meditating on consciousness, I should not objectify that formless consciousness. That's very important. So we are doing these meditations, we are looking at the attributes of the seer, the absolute seer, consciousness. We are trying to differentiate the consciousness from the thoughts appearing in consciousness. But don't make the mistake to try to objectify consciousness. And this is one of the most common obstacles for the Vedantins, this tendency for objectification of consciousness. And here say, never try, don't fall for that. You should not try to objectify consciousness. Why? Because I am that consciousness. How am I going to objectify I am? I myself. Yeah? I am the subject. I am consciousness. So I'm no longer the body and the mind. If I'm the body and the mind, I'm an object as well. But since I am consciousness, I'm the ultimate, the absolute seer, the absolute Drik. So I can never be objectified. Therefore, I should stop that tendency to try to look for it, on an objective way. And then the meditation should become, I'm no longer just looking at thoughts, look at consciousness, and then differentiate the thoughts of consciousness. And then the end result of this meditation is, okay, thoughts, okay, I have no problem with you guys, because you serve as a pointer to consciousness. Now I see consciousness, and then the third stage is where I am that consciousness. It's claiming, I am that consciousness. Even after the thought goes, I continue illumining everything. What I'm going to illuminate, the absence of thoughts. Sometimes there is an absence of thoughts in deep meditation, in Savikalpa meditation. But I'm there. There is peace, there is silence, or I'm in deep sleep, or even in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Because of a blank mind, or thoughtless, or thought-free, or thoughtless mind is known to me. So even in the absence of mental activities, I am there to witness that there is a blank, empty state. First, focus on the thought, then come to the consciousness, revealing and illuminating the thought, then move to the I am, that Sakshi Chaitanya. Only when the meditation becomes I meditation, it again reminds me of Nisargadatta. Meditate on the I. The I is the key. Why? Because Brahman, which is the true nature of everything, has three features. One of them is knowingness, is knowledge. And this knowledge begins with this I thought, I am. Everything is in the universe, but only when the thought comes into the living creature, I am, I exist, and then we have this aspect of consciousness manifests as knowingness that happens in this case, in the case of our planet, to the living human beings of all sorts, even the old aboriginals and so on. Every one of these creatures, of these organisms, have this I am, I exist, and I know that I am and I exist, and I love to be, like Nisargadatta Maharaj used to say. So the meditation on the I is the key. The I is the advertisement of knowingness. I know that I am. I know that I exist. This I is the key that can, point me to my true identity as consciousness. I am consciousness. So not consciousness as something other than myself. Only when my meditation becomes I meditation, Nididhyasana reaches completion. So again, I was meditating on the thoughts, just using the thoughts to point me to consciousness, and then I got into a relationship with consciousness, but I was in duality. I was seeing consciousness as something other than myself. And then my meditation reached a completion when I understand I am that consciousness. It's not something other than myself. From the I, the consciousness in the mind, I should go to I, the consciousness in all minds. Yeah, that's another jump. Because we can jump from the thoughts to consciousness. We can claim I am consciousness, but I may be still deluded to that idea that I have a personal consciousness. We need to understand the non-dual nature of consciousness. So I am the consciousness pervading, the entire universe of all jivas and all insentient beings, inert objects as well. So I see this Chaitanya in everything. I am that consciousness in all minds. Then the truth, the correct statement is that consciousness is not in all minds, but all minds are in consciousness, okay? To make it, to leave it less room to misunderstand, The I consciousness, I have realized that there is consciousness and there is the mind. And then I understand that I am this consciousness, the I is consciousness. And within this consciousness, this mind, okay, these thoughts and the thoughts of all other minds, okay, they occur within consciousness. Everything exists within the scope of consciousness. Everything is in consciousness. All the minds are in consciousness. And I am that consciousness. And then we say, oh, every mind is in me. Okay, the mind of Mark, the mind of Lin, every mind is in me. Oh my God, but I cannot read Lin's mind or Mark's mind. Yeah. Now you understand that, but you are not Ishwara. Ishwara is the knower. Of every thought, of everything, of every intention behind thoughts and actions and words. But I want to understand my true nature and understand that everything happens within me, although I don't have knowledge about everything in Mitya, which exists within the scope of myself as consciousness. I don't know. Ishwara knows. Thanks God, I don't need to know. Just imagine if enlightenment would mean to know everything. So there will be too much frustration. We would have to go to find a way to live for 1,000 years to read every book on science and so on, and to try to be all-knowing, so that we could say, oh, now I got my enlightenment certificate. I know nearly everything. No, leave it to Ishwara, as we know. Go to I, the consciousness in all minds. Then the meditation should even progress further, as I was saying. It should go, I am not in all minds, but all minds are resting me. So exactly what I was saying, he was just like bringing it as a new stage in the process, to understand, to revert this apprehension that consciousness is a product of the mind. So the minds, they exist within consciousness. Everything is resting in consciousness. Everything is a projection or superimposition in consciousness. They are born out of consciousness by the power of mind, of Maya, and they resolved in consciousness. Like space, I accommodate everything. Thus, from the light example, I come to the space example. So we had the light illuminating the people, the light illuminating the hand. Now we jump to the other symbol of consciousness, which is space. The space example is very important because space is absolutely free and independent from whatsoever it accommodates. I look at all Vedantic teachings, and in the place of Brahman, Atma, Sakshi, etc., I use the word I. This is the main feature of Nididhyasana, and only then Ahamkara will get weakened. It's so nice. He says, oh, so this is the only way. Do this meditation, okay? So you identify Brahman, differentiate Brahman consciousness, existence, and then you claim your nature, your true identity as Brahman. And then you have to understand this Brahman is of non-dual nature, is the same consciousness in everything. So you say, I am that Brahman, there is only one Brahman, and this is the main feature of Nididhyasana, claim I am Brahman, once you have differentiated Brahman from the thoughts, from the mind, from the intellect. And then what happens? And then the ego will get weakened. Somebody could say, and then you're going to transcend and you're going to live, in Brahman, and you're going to be, happy forever in ecstasy. So no, the ego will get weakened. Sometimes Swamiji does not make proper publicity of Vedanta, I would say. He could be a little bit more, exaggerating a little bit. Say, no, that's a piece of cake, and then pop. You do your Nididhyasana and you're going to be in total bliss. So there are many objects present in the mind in the form of thoughts. For example, desire, desired object, anger is an emotional object, etc. A list of thoughts as examples were mentioned in verse 4. And in the very same mind, there is present the consciousness principle as the illuminator of all these thoughts. So there is a huge list of thoughts, and we know we don't need to go to the verse number 4. We have objects, thoughts, objects, even anger, desire for object, is a sort of a thought related to a subtle object, okay? And a list of thoughts is example. But in the very same mind, there is always present the consciousness principle, the illuminator, as we call, illuminating all these objects, all these thoughts. When they are done together, the changing vrits get the attention and not the changeless consciousness, meaning to say, when the illuminating consciousness get mixed up with the objects, and then our attention goes to the changing objects, the changing thoughts, emotions, so on, and not to the changeless consciousness, the changeless illuminator. Why? Because the consciousness was not properly differentiated, discriminate from the object. So if they get mixed up, if they get confused, if we lack discrimination, or if we get distracted, and then we get involved with the object, and then our focus, our attention goes to the objects, and what happens? We miss out on the light of the illuminator. It happens again and again, as we know, during our day-to-day experience of life. And then we lose, we discount the light of the illuminator, and then we discount the fact, I am the light, and nothing here can really affect me. And then I'm free. So I have no problem with whatsoever here. No thoughts can really impact me. It may impact the mind, but does not impact me too. It goes to that extent. Vedanta is drawing my attention to that already present, ever evident consciousness. It's very simple Vedanta, but does not mean to say that it's easy. So it's not easy because of this power of mind that tricks us again and again to identify with the objects that we illumine, and we discover the fact that the true illuminator is free and independent from all these objects of experience. I'm not affected by any experience. This is the ultimate truth. I, consciousness, I'm not affected by any experience. I should focus on Chaitanya. Focusing upon the Sakshi is nothing but entertaining thoughts regarding Shakti, Sakshi. The mind functions only through entertaining thoughts such as the Sakshi is in the mind, and Sakshi is the illuminator, is the meditation of focus on Sakshi. So in other words, when we talk about Chaitanya, Sakshi, or consciousness, we entertaining a thought, we entertaining a thought. So focus upon this consciousness is nothing but entertaining thoughts associated to this consciousness. So the features of consciousness and so on. You know, I'm consciousness. So consciousness is a vague word. So we know that the Upanishads gives us some features of consciousness, as we have seen here, comparing the objects from the illuminator, the consciousness that illuminates, and so on. So the thought regarding Sakshi, it's a thought. I'm going to entertain these thoughts, these features. Entertain such as the Sakshi is in the mind, and the Sakshi. Entertain thoughts such as the Sakshi is in the mind, and the Sakshi is the illuminator, is the meditation or focusing on the Sakshi. So he's making a distinction between the Vedantic meditation. We are going to be contemplating on these words, and the words of Vedanta. Okay, and then he says Sakshi is in the mind. So he forgot to say that the mind is in consciousness, and the Sakshi, this consciousness, is the illuminator, entertaining such as the Sakshi is in the mind, it's pervading, it's shining, it's reflecting in the subtle body, and that the Sakshi is the true illuminator, the true conscious principle, is the meditation focusing on Sakshi. So we have brought the meditation on the thoughts, and then the thoughts serve the purpose to point us to consciousness, Chaitanya, Sakshi Chaitanya, and then once we are doing that, we're going to practice that, and the features of this consciousness, such as everything happens in me, the thoughts appear in me, the Sakshi pervades all minds because it's of non-dual nature. Okay, this is the meditation focusing on consciousness. This meditation in which I entertain thoughts regarding consciousness, features of consciousness, is called Antara Drsya Anuvida Savikalpa Samadhi. So there is still Savikalpa there, and I'm entertaining a subtle object, because the whole purpose of this meditation is the meditator and the thoughts, is association with the thoughts, and the ultimate thoughts is the thoughts around the features of consciousness, and I am this consciousness. Are you still with us, Mark? It sounds very, very practical and nice, and we're going to see some other examples of Vedantic meditations. But
Arlindo, as you were saying when we first started on this verse, that you were familiar with two meditations that were of this nature. TM is like this as well, only that the difference between yoga and Vedanta is that you stop at stage 2. You don't go to the third acknowledgement that you are aware. Yeah, the knowledge. So it presupposes that you've done a lot of Shravana and Manana to go to that third step, which is what the TM, the yoga just doesn't provide.
Yeah, very, very nicely put. And also the meditations I used to do under the guidance of Nisargadatta, and would never do that final jump, because I was still enjoying consciousness as an object of experience, such as peace, bliss, peace,
Right.
and so on. I was never claiming in the end, that I am that consciousness, and much less understanding what it is consciousness. Because when I met Vedanta and Ramji, I have this possibility of not only claiming I am consciousness happened before, but then when I met Vedanta through Ramji, I could understand what it means. I am consciousness. You understand? It means what? I am non-dual. I'm one without a second, and I'm free from my experience. I never get affected by the world and so on. So that was also missing. The claiming and the clear understanding of what it means to be consciousness was missing in my learnings, or my knowledge at the time, following the guidance of Nisargadatta Maharaj.
Yeah, all those years, and the gift of yoga from Ishvara is just amazing. That it calms all that rajasic mind and helps you. I mean, what a blessing. Millions and millions of people blessed by some form of yogic meditation. But then when you come to Vedanta, I mean, boy, that's the cherry on top, That's
that is the completion.
What a blessing. Yeah.
The completion. Unfortunately, most people miss it, but it seems to be the way things are.
Yoga primes the pump, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay, so we lost Mark. I was going to move a little bit in the following verse, but I think we could leave it for next week. Okay. Very nicely. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. It helped me to have a better understanding of TR meditation, because TM meditation, transcendental meditation, because it is a meditation on certain mantras, certain thoughts, that somehow calms the mind. Big time.
It's a japa. Yeah, it's a lovely japa.
Yeah.
For the Western mind, especially, what a real gift from Ishvara.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lynn. Came a question, a curiosity in my mind. Your students of transcendental meditation later on, did you try to introduce them to the Vedanta teachings or not?
I have taught meditation in New York, in Ohio, in California, and they're all scattered, and I haven't kept up with them. So they're not. It's not like a sangha. It's a teach you a technique and make sure you've got it down, and then let you go. Can come back for checking with the teacher at any time, but there's not. It's only if you decide you want to delve more deeply, go to teacher training or do something like that, that you would get knowledge. And that knowledge is primarily yoga knowledge.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Okay, and once again, thank you. We meet again this coming
Thank
Monday.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.